Alrighty, welcome. We are Nagarjuna investigators. It is, there we go, October 1st, 2025. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, and see them there with you, gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Deep down, we know this is what we are meant to become. Studying karma and emptiness, we glimpse how it's possible, even inevitable. And so we turn our minds back to our precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet, to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with the blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that we do in sharing in this investigation and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that we do in sharing in this investigation and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing in this investigation and the rest, may all beings totally awaken for the benefit of every single other. Mm. Please make a note on your schedules that we'll be off from this group October 15, 22, and 29. And so back on November 5th. So by then, I'm going to need to do a whole review to get caught up. So probably on the 5th, we'll go in again, sort of from the beginning, not start over, of course, but just refresh our memories, how it's all gone. All right. And then shortly after that, we'll pick up where we left off. It's a long time to be off from Nagarjuna, I find. 3 whole weeks, 2 whole weeks. Anyway, I'd also like to ask Janet, did you go to meet the Tulku?
He came from the airport with his grandma and his parents. He didn't do the blessings, so we had our scarves. Then we went into the temple and they did the preliminaries. And when he jumped off, he had sandals and he was jumping with both feet down the stairs.
Right.
And then they ended it. And then there was an enthronement on Saturday, and I didn't go.
Yeah.
Um, but my sense was it was, almost entirely ceremonial, and he's a little kid with his parents.
Yeah. Sweet. Sweet. I'm glad you went. That's a nice blessing. Blessing for the whole world. Thanks. Uh, uh, all right then. Root text first. Make us bigger.
He has a twin sister.
Really? A twin? Well, that's interesting. So she was there too, was she?
I didn't see her. If I did, if
Oh,
if she was there, I didn't recognize her. There were a lot of children there.
wow. Curious. My mind's just going off. Like, what would it be like to be in utero with a enlightened being? Yeah, do you have enough room? What can I do for you? No, no, you're special. You take it.
I was thinking the same, dear Lama.
You go first. No, I'll go first. No, you go first. No, you go first. When they're bored. Silly. So, Miss Janet, you were here first. Will you share with us the opening, please?
Here, here I have made a song for you. On the very root of the middle way, which I call wisdom. In the language of India, this text is called Prajna Nama Mula Madhyamaka Karika. In the language of Tibet, it is known as Uma Tsewe Secular Japa Sherab. In English, we call it wisdom, a song on the root of the middle way. I bow down to Manjushri, the glorious, gentle voice, in his guise as a teenage boy.
Thank you. Joanna, please.
Thank you. 1.1. I bow down to that highest of teachers, to the fully enlightened one who teaches us to reach that peace where our fantasies about how things exist are put to a final rest.
And Elsie 1.2.
I bow to the one who taught us that things happen in dependence. Nothing ends and nothing begins. Nothing stops, but nothing ever lasts forever. Nothing comes and nothing goes. No two things are different, nor are any two the same.
And Roxana 1.3.
Yes, thank you, dear Lama. Nothing grows from itself. Nothing grows from something else. Nothing grows from both. And nothing grows without a cause. There is nothing at all that grows at all.
And then chapter 1 was, and everything that we think is a cause is impossible. So what are these causes that everything grows from? That if it's not itself, it's not something else, and it's not both. It is like a riddle, right? I'm thinking of something that, right, can cause something to grow, but not from itself. To cause something to grow, but not from something else. To cause something to grow from both that doesn't cause anything at all. What am I thinking of? I don't even know the answer to that question. Okay, let's stop sharing, go to chapter 13.
I mean that little kid is a clue. He's
Oh,
he's being enthroned, but he hasn't taught anything yet. or
right,
not formally anyway. So is he or is he not? But they
right.
enthroned him. And we are too. We are I feel like I'm very early on this path. You've been at it for quite longer.
I know it's embarrassing how long I've been at it and how far I've not gotten, in my own opinion, right? Yay. But like that little kid, it's like we don't know how he sees himself. And do we need to know how he sees himself in order for us to see him correctly? Would it make a difference?
I mean, we're supposed to look at things with emptiness, right?
Yeah,
Our teachers with emptiness. And
right,
then this whole thing with time, in that way, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter, but it matters in that we perceive the world that way.
right, right, right.
But it's hard
Yeah, it is. It is.
because
We're
if you don't,
so
if you don't do the work, it's not just going to happen. So
Right.
thinking, well, in the future we'll reach our Buddhahood, but then we won't do our work. That's so privileged. And it's in some ways, that's what's going on in America. Everyone thinks they're really privileged and thinks things should just be given to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's maybe a little bit like that, but not really like that.
Yeah. 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 No, you've nailed it pretty well. It's like we really do have to change our behavior choices, don't we? Like even just knowing all this stuff, it's not going to take us very far if we don't use it, right, to decide whether I say that thing or I don't.
I mean, the potential is there, and when hard things happen, you see people really suffer. It really drives you to change things. People say
Yeah.
they do things for their children because they want them to have a better life.
Right.
So the human potential is there, but it often takes something really hard, maybe not always. And I'm hoping with us, it's not going to take something really hard for us to practice more. And then
Yeah.
Geshe Michael has taken the other approach. Well, if I give you $100, will you practice? And I think that's really interesting that he
Yeah.
took the other approach because
Yeah.
it works too. That way also works.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. So Nagarjuna's sorry, I got stalled. This text is called Root Text Wisdom. And we think of wisdom as being the wisdom of the empty nature of things. And then the first chapter is about causes and how worldly causes don't really do what it looks like they do. No, that's not phrased right. Worldly causes aren't the real causes. Because sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And if we deeply understood, we could have stopped right at the end of chapter 1. Right? We would have gone, oh, silly me. Right? I thought that turning the key started the car. But I see what you're saying, Nagarjuna. That the real causes are coming from me. The real causes are my behavior, my past behavior. But that's so unhuman that it takes the rest of the book to point that out. So it seems to me that the book is about the marriage of karma and emptiness, that the figuring out what the causes really are. So coming to the conclusion that karma drives the show. And understanding emptiness is necessary for that conclusion to really become the answer to everything, hard things and good things. So he started out going through, like Arkachik said, wait, that can't be true, Nagarjuna, because, I do cause things to happen. And, to say I do cause things to happen doesn't necessarily contradict the fact that my karmic, my mental seeds ripening are the experience of me causing things to happen. It is true. I turn the key, the car starts. It is valid experience. But the reason why it's really happening isn't what I think. And so he started out the second chapter, let's look at whether or not you actually do what you think you're doing. And he did it by way of that chapter on walking, the walker walking, and whether we ever get anywhere and what's really going on. And we follow each chapter. Our minds go, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, okay. And then he drops the end bombshell, like everything's that way. And we go, what? Right? No, yeah, but. And then we move to the next chapter and he addresses our yeah, but not really directly. He goes like 3 layers underneath our yeah, but, and then talks the next chapter. So it's so difficult to follow still, even now that we're pretty familiar with this text. Anyway, we got along to chapters 13, 11, 12, and 13, 10, 11, 12, and 13, which were these series about the desire, the desirer, and the desired. And it flipped from desire to suffering in that chapter about who causes my pain. But we've been moving from the looking for the true nature and cause of the me that came before. Like, I do still have to exist because I was there before this life started, and then now here I am. Right. So we had that beginningless and endless, the chapter on where do you find the middle? Like, how can the starting, no starting and stopping? And it was about this argument. I am too me because I'm here before. I'm here before the thing happens to me. I have to be here for it to happen to me, right? We're like, I do so exist because we think at his conclusion is there's no nature in this. That means there's no nature to me. And our Kachik mind goes, well, then you're telling me I don't exist. And that's absurd. Yeah. Yes, Janet.
Did you
You're
notice Monday
Yes.
at Sugang's Mixed Nuts, the Wheel of Life? And they were
Mhm.
talking about, I think, about links 2 and 3, or the earlier links.
Yeah.
And they brought up fire and firewood.
Interesting.
And they brought up Duche, and Venerable Utpala translates on the side. And at first she said it was karmic seeds, and then she changed it to the 4th heap. And I kept rereading that, wondering, well, she surely knows it's the 4th heap. Why would she say it's karmic heaps? And I didn't look it up in the dictionary. But they were saying that 4th heap is the karmic, I think. The karmic seed that's carried from one life to another is our discernment, the douche. And I wasn't sure if that was right, because that means none of the other heaps really are what carries over. It's that one that carries over, your discernment. But I found that hard to believe, because we're watching and discerning things all the time.
I don't know what to say to that.
I don't know either. And I haven't read that book, but maybe that's another book to pay attention to in regards to Arya Nagarjuna. And he does do something with the wheel later.
Yeah, he does. He does. We'll get there. Right. Right. Yeah, good point. So in that chapter, Nagarjuna points out the logical conclusion that you can't say there was a me that was here before my experience. And our Kachik hears it as saying that, well, there's no me, which is so absurd. to think that, but we do kind of drop off the cliff a little bit when we go, well, there really isn't a me there first. There's just the me experiencing this and then the me experiencing that. And then it's like, yeah, but there has to be like something that connects us. There has to be me, or else I experience this one thing, I'd be a completely different person experiencing the next thing. And it's not like that. And then I have to be here in order to experience the next thing that comes. I have to be here first. So although we went through that chapter 11, okay, I get it. You can't really find a first or a second or a now and a then. That there's only now. But even that, when you go trying to find the now, you can't exactly pin it down. There's just this constant shape-shifting is the way our words of our conclusion. And then into chapter 12, chapter 12, wasn't chapter 12 the who made the pain? And it's like we could be looking at that from the pain side, but that chapter was helping us look at the causer of the pain. Did I do it to myself? Did somebody else do it to me? Did the pain itself cause the pain? Where does suffering really come from? And he pointed out how all the different ways that we believe suffering is created and suffering is experienced can't happen the way we think. And so it's our pain is not caused by ourself in the moment, or we would be the cause and the result at the same time. And we've already seen that that's not possible. And when we say, well, my past me did something that this me is now experiencing, he says, well, then can you really say that it's you? Because that past you, right, is so different than this current you. And it points out how deep down, even as we say, I know my past me is different than this me, there's still this thread, this deep belief that this me was, that rancher in Argentina, right? 15,000 lifetimes ago. I can't help but relate to this me as being, right, just in a different body, in a different circumstance. I don't think of it as a totally different me because I can't conceive of, right, being anything other than this me. And again, he's not pointing out that in the long run, there's no me at all. So just give it up. He's pointing out how tenacious we are at what we're holding to be me when we think me, and helping us let go of that tenaciousness to be better able to relate to a me that's constantly shifting and yet somehow is always this subject side, right? This me, a me that's constantly changing. And it's hard to hang on to that long enough to really get the gist of it. So in chapter 12, that conclusion was, and what's true for pain is true for everything else. Like he always ends up with that, right? I don't remember what the verse was. And then we go, yeah. Oh, yeah, but I do so exist because that yelling guy hurts me. I do feel the hurt in that situation. Like the chapter is about things that produce other things, which we've done before. But now apparently the perspective is the pain itself, the pain that I react to, the sensation that I call pain, that I resist or reject, and I blame something or somebody else for. We're less looking at the yelling boss who caused the pain. We're looking at the pain that I feel causing me to do some kind of reaction. So this chapter is taking it a little bit deeper. Points out the commentaries, so points out Lama Christie, which I wouldn't get it myself if I was looking at these chapters. You know, I'd think, oh, here we're looking at produce things, and I'd be looking at how do I produce a pen versus how does this pain produce what it is I want to do next, which is more helpful than understanding how I produce pens, to understand how I produce the reaction that I want to do next, so that I can train myself to produce the urge to do reactions that will be pleasant for everybody. Hopefully in the moment, but don't have any real power over that for the other. But in the end, in the long run. So we had gone through chapter 13. Curiously, Nagarjuna's response to our Kachik. I do so exist because the pain I feel when that guy yells at me is real, right? I react back. I do so make things happen by reacting back to get the guy to stop being mean to me. And the Conqueror has stated that anything which misleads us is to be called deceptive. And since all things that produce are things which mislead us, thus they are deceptive. Why do all things that produce are things which mislead us? Yes, Roxana.
Well, thank you,
Elsie,
Lama.
whoever.
I'll be brief. Yesterday, we were talking in Mahamudra about the example of the rope and the snake.
Mhm.
I have no idea how many times I've heard that example. But yesterday, curiously, in my mind, I was thinking it a bit differently. The snake, there was a snake, and deceptively, I was thinking that it was a rope. Backwards, not a rope, thinking that there was a snake. So that's the emptiness of things. While you were explaining one point, I was thinking it differently.
Mhm.
So that's the misperception that we all have, I think, in our minds. And until you get it right, then you can see, I guess, the emptiness of things. Not right as completely correct, but like putting the parts together or deconstructing it to kind of understand something and just see the emptiness of it. So,
Right.
but
Right,
I
right,
thought
right.
that's Lama's point, what she's trying to do, and your mind just did the same thing. I mean, why couldn't I have just been thinking of the rope being a snake? Why did I have to be thinking of the snake, think that there was a snake and I thought that it was a rope? So,
Right,
thank you.
right. Things look like they produce things, but it's deceptive. Turning the key does so start the car, Nagarjuna. Yeah, deceptively. Because sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, but that's because the battery's dead. Yeah, deceptively. Right? So deceptive is a tricky word. You see the mirage in the desert. The experience is, I think there's water there. You recognize, oh, there's no water there. There is a mirage there. The water was deceptive. The mirage was the experience. Right? The snake and the rope example usually is the snake was deceptive, the rope is real. But we know that the rope is deceptive too. Why? Yes, Elsie.
Hello, ma. We were, in fact, this morning in my book club, we were talking about something quite similar to this. And a friend in the club that she attended Michael's advanced level 5, and there Krishna said, we will not be able to understand, no, we will not be able to see that things are really coming from our side unless we truly understand emptiness, unless we truly deeply understand it and have that deep understanding in us all this time. So it is just like the water form in a mirage. We know that's a mirage. So therefore we know there's no water there. And it's because we have this knowledge that, oh, that's a mirage. There's definitely no water there. But for us on other things, we always has this uh, thoughts that shift through our mind. Oh no, it, no, this is wrong. This is what's happening to me. Just like um you mentioned just now, the key that turns the car and it starts the engine, and if it doesn't, then it's because the battery's dead. So we always and we constantly have these kind of thoughts superimposed on our other things. That's why we are always misled. So if we
Right.
truly understand or already keep in mind the the emptiness of how things are formed.
Right. Right.
So I think that's why it's mentioned here that things which mislead us are deceptive.
Right. Hmm. Sorry, lost my train. That's what Elsie said. What can mislead the deception? Only understanding emptiness. Things that perform a function can have no essential nature because they appear to change into a different thing. But neither can functioning things lack an essential nature, for these same things have their own emptiness. He's pointing out the different, like the mistaken understanding of essential nature and the accurate understanding of essential nature. The first one, essential nature, means a nature of their own. A functioning thing can't have its own nature and function. If a thing is self-existent, it can't do anything, because to do something requires that thing to affect something else or be affected by something else, or both. So something that functions can't have its own essential nature, but it has to have some essential nature. And that essential nature is its emptiness. So the pen doesn't know whether it has its own emptiness or not, does it? No, you know? Yes, Roxana.
We're talking here about essential nature, and my mind is going crazy because, like, essential nature, it's another word, but we've been working with innate nature, intrinsic nature. So when we talk about essential nature, to which ones of the other two does it refer? Because
Are
they're
those other
different.
two different things?
Yes, yes,
What's the difference between
they
innate
are.
nature
Intrinsic,
and intrinsic?
intrinsic nature, fundamental to something, existence or being, regardless of external factors. It comes from within the thing itself.
Mhm.
It says, think of it as a quality that is inseparable from the object, intrinsic nature. For
Okay.
example, the intrinsic value of gold is worth as a material, not the value assigned by it by a market or jeweler. And the innate nature is present from birth, it says. The innate nature. Like innate immune system. That's the example that they gave. So the intrinsic nature of something and the innate nature are different. And now we're talking about the essential
No,
nature.
how can the intrinsic nature not have been there at birth?
I think the intrinsic nature is the one that we give to something, that we assigned.
Well,
And the
that'll
innate,
be the same for the innate. So I
it's
see what you're
exclusively for
saying.
living things and describes a characteristic that is not
Right.
learned or acquired through experience. It's something
Right.
that
So
is there.
you're using a dictionary, are you?
I just looked it up, not a dictionary. I just looked the difference between one and the other.
Right. So worldly difference between one and the other, I agree with you.
Okay.
Arya and Nagarjuna, a difference between one and the other. They're all saying the same thing.
It's just that's why I'm
And
confused.
that's what we mean by essential nature. In it, from it, whether at birth or since billion years ago or just since yesterday. In it, from it.
Okay.
Yeah. Essential to it. Essential, necessary, meaning necessary. And a
Okay.
necessary nature. Okay,
Okay.
so apply it to both of those other kinds of natures. They would be essential.
Thank you. It's just that I was trying to clarify in my mind. Thank you,
Yeah.
Julian.
Okay. So it does seem that you need to have essential nature to be able to do a function. You have to have the nature of a pen to be able to write, to be used to write. And Nagarjuna is saying, no, actually, it can't have the essential nature because it changes. He doesn't say they change, it says they appear to change, which implies they don't change. But that's not right either. Right? The pen does change as we write with it. All right, we're getting distracted. I wanted to get to chapter 14 by getting to 13 where we were before. Now I'm doing the same thing, starting all over. But without a nature of its own, how could it change to something else? And if it has a nature of its own, it can't change it to anything else. And oh my gosh, what do we do? He threw this one at us. The young can't grow old and the old can't grow old either. If a thing was really a change, if thing was really a thing in the way that we think that it is. Say that a thing was itself. Okay, we're getting close. Say that a thing was itself and could change into another thing. Then milk could become yogurt. But wait, milk does become yogurt. Doesn't it? Well, when there's yogurt there, is there any milk there? No. When there's milk there, is there any yogurt there? No. So did the milk become something else? Worldly. We would say yes. The milk gets acted on by the bacterial organisms and it changes into yogurt. So the milk can't have its nature of being milk in it from it, because then the bacteria couldn't work on it and turn it into yogurt. And it's like, why is that the logical conclusion? If milk wasn't milk, if milk was strawberries and you add the bacteria, you don't end up with yogurt. You only end up with yogurt when that bacteria goes to milk. There has to be something in the milk. There has to be something in the bacteria. And there has to be something in the yogurt. But if there's something in each one of those, right, future chapters are going to be, where do they actually touch? When does the milk actually change? When it's 50-50? 75-25? 98-2? When is it really changing? If milk were other than itself, it would already be yogurt. That the English there is really hard to grasp that as cause and effect statement. If the milk were other than itself, it would already be yogurt. For me to reword it so I can work with it, if milk were other than itself, there would already be yogurt, meaning the yogurt would be independent of milk. If the milk were strawberries and you had yogurt over here, then yogurt is an independent thing. It didn't come from the strawberries. Like, it's absurd. It's not real life. It's theoretical thinking about the absurdity of our belief that you have milk, you add bacteria, you add time and temperature, and you get the milk turns into yogurt. He says that's as absurd as saying strawberries cause yogurt. It doesn't seem that absurd to me. But we're looking at this chapter as, how is it that the object is the cause of our result. Technically, we're looking at it from the point of pain. How is it that the yelling boss is causing this pain that I'm experiencing? Because we're so sure that this pain that I'm experiencing is coming from them saying that nasty thing to me. Boss says nasty thing, add the my hearing it, and boom, I get this painful feeling. No different than milk, bacteria, and yogurt. Somehow. He goes on to say, if there was a fraction of a thing that wasn't emptiness, we would have a little emptiness. If there was not a fraction of a thing that wasn't empty, how could there be emptiness? That's where we left off. If there was something, like in of all the existing things that have emptiness as their nature, if there was something that wasn't empty, we'd have a little less emptiness than we had when it was all, everything was empty. If there's not a fraction of a thing that's not empty, how can there be any emptiness? Explain that one to me. Not a fraction of a thing that's not empty. Meaning if everything is empty, isn't that right? If there's not a fraction of a thing that's not empty, that means everything is empty. Why does he say, how can there be emptiness?
Because once you see emptiness directly, technically you're not projecting anymore.
You're saying the direct perception of emptiness is not a projection?
Well, no, this is totally intellectual. It's the
Yeah.
absence of the projection.
Yeah, yeah,
But I have never experienced it, so I don't know.
yeah. Me neither.
But the advice is to subtract doing that and see what happens.
Right.
And then you come out of it. You do it and then you come out of it and then you're projecting again.
You have the three spheres again. Let's say it that way. You're projecting the three spheres again. Mm,
Your
I mean,
lemma?
at least you're noticing it. I don't know if because you can have the object and subject and just choose to be neutral. It's very difficult.
yeah,
It's the ultimate reality what you're perceiving, but it's I imagine that it's like a movie being projected, but without, I don't know. Uh, how could it be in an ultimate reality cinema, for example?
yeah. Like nothing you can say about it, they always say. And then we try.
Right.
Let's see what he says next and see if it helps us understand this one.
I mean, I know part of it is things are constantly changing, and
Right.
our level is not to track it. Like in martial arts, the way you hold your hands is how you give the target to the opponent. If you hold it here, they can drape the arm against you, and then you're in a bad position.
Mhm.
And if you're in a rhythm, the opponent can get the rhythm, and then they can rush it or go make their movement after, so they can break the rhythm to try to have. And then the third thing is to have a superior structure, but it's all relative.
Right.
So if you go with the bad position one, how you're holding yourself is creating the target. So how you are giving that interaction is how you're creating what someone else sees if they choose to see it. So in that
Right.
sense, it's coming from you.
Mhm.
But because we keep moving, it's all dynamic. Those opportunities open and close and open and close, and they can be very, very, very short.
Yeah, nice. Nice. That's a nice glimpse, into what this is trying to say too. If you're continuously in motion and you have this opponent who's trying to pin you down in some way, right? They don't know where you're going to go next. They're going to try and anticipate it. That's what you're saying. If they can anticipate your movement, they'll be there first and they'll break your pattern, if I heard you right. And
Well,
so if you're, right, constant motion, and it's like the emptiness projection is in this constant moment.
I see three things. They could either put you in a bad position, like draping your arm across you, and then you have the shoulders, you have big
Mhm.
joints, and then you can control the person. You could put them in a bad position too by making them lean so you could pull. So both of those are putting someone in a bad position. And
Yeah,
you allow someone to put someone in a bad position. They don't do it to you. Your positioning creates that opportunity better. I mean,
on
if
purpose? Are you doing that on purpose?
yeah, because if somebody
Okay.
makes you lean forward, you don't think you're leaning, but you are, and then they'll finish you. And so the other one is breaking the cycle. So if
Right.
somebody's in a circle and they're in a cycle or they're in a rhythm, you could, like if they're going left and right while they're in between left and right, you can go forward into them. So once
Yeah.
you sense the cycle, it's dangerous for them. So you
Right.
can't or if you're in a cycle, you have to be really willing to know where you're at and to change your thought midstream. Like if you have this thought in your mind that you want to do something to someone and that person sees what you're doing, they already see the cycle.
Right. Right. And so you can take advantage of the fact that the moving nature of what's going on could be changed in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's why I was trying to get the correlation to the emptiness.
If it's a pattern, that patterns are dangerous because they can be broken.
Right. 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 And so from our perspective, the patterns are great because they can be broken. Right? We can recognize the pattern and then intentionally say, no, that's not the pattern I want. Right? The pattern, boss yells, this hurts. I don't like this hurt. They caused that. I should hurt them back. And the fact that it's this constant shifting pattern anywhere along the way, we could use our wisdom to say, no, I'm not going to believe that their yelling caused this pain. No, I'm not going to act from this pain in that way. No, I'm not going to, right? We can break the pattern because it's a pattern.
And then the high level practitioners, it's about structure. So a lot of them just do a pung, which is an expansion. So you can't get into someone's bubble. They're constantly expanding. How can you constantly be expanding? You think that you have to come in to go out, come in, go out. But the high level people can just expand relative to the person all the time. And they
Right.
have the structure in their feet. But there are people who don't use their feet and they do it all with their arms. So it's wrong to say it's all with your feet. So it's really hard to figure out how you could have superior structure other than choosing someone that's a cripple. And then you know that you're superior to them. But then that's what I do. And then they tell me I'm a bully. So, but if you're at a higher level and you're with someone equal to you and you want to be superior with your structure, I think it does have to do with your practice. So
Yeah.
if you train and you train pretty heavily, then you have that structure ingrained in you when you're
Right.
with somebody. And then that goes to meditation. You have to meditate to have that stability to do this thing of either
Yeah.
putting someone in a bad position or avoiding it, or um, breaking the cycle,
Yeah. So
or
similar principles.
and then getting to that superior structure, which I only experience with cripples.
Janet, it's so interesting the analogy that you're doing. So in the first part where you said, okay, they're moving one part or the other, it's like we're playing with the deceptive and the deceiver, right?
Mm.
How do we, I mean, how do we break that cycle of a deceptive thing and the deceiver? What's the interaction there?
I mean, part of it is the target's coming from you. If I'm holding my arms out, it's different than holding my arms in because they can drape my arm across from me. So if you don't recognize that your targets are coming from you, that's the very first thing is that the way you set your body up, that target is coming from you.
Okay. So, okay, definitely. Taking it back to the analogy, my ripenings are coming from my past experience, right? That's what, if we take it into the language of Nagarjuna,
Mhm.
okay? And there's something that is deceptive and something that is deceived, or I'm being deceived of. Subject
Right.
object interaction. But that cycle that you're talking about, it's how to break loose of it in of the deceptiveness of the
Right.
situation. In this case, it would
For
be
us.
for us, right? In this case, it would be the analogy that you're explaining so kindly to us. I'm not, I mean, it's a great explanation of martial arts. I never heard it before.
You could say that someone's pushing you too hard. How could they be so unfriendly and pushing you so hard? But they're really putting you in a bad position first so they can push you. They probably don't even need to push you hard. And that's coming from you. Where
Right.
the target you're giving them is coming from you. And then if you have a cycle and they see that cycle, I mean, they do this with war tactics. If someone sees that in a protest, there's food carts and people like to protest and go to food carts, they'll take away the food carts, and then people at the protest, there's no food, and then they go home. And it's like so they've broken the cycle by taking away the people's habit. It's a war tactic. I mean, in some ways, this is a war against ourselves.
Or ignorance, could it be?
Yes, it is.
That we think we exist. And we're
Right.
self-grasping and we think we've got to like do these things to survive, which, if you don't have to survive, if you've got like a meal and a place to sleep for a couple days, would you really continue this behavior? And then that's why we go on retreat with Lama Sarani, because we have food and a place to stay, and then we look at our behavior.
It is true. We need our needs met in order to address these things. So emptiness, the victor said, transcends every view. And they've said that those who view all that they see with emptiness have nothing more to reach. I think that's the end. Yeah. This concludes an analysis of things that produce other things. He really didn't talk at all about things producing other things directly. He talked about things that are deceptive. And he didn't talk about our me and our pain and how we react. But it's the old pattern that perpetuates the mistake, of course. And Nagarjuna is pointing out that Buddha pointed out that the only way to break our cycles is with the understanding of emptiness, right? We understand the only way to really bring mental afflictions to an end is to experience emptiness directly, because that's the only way to cut the belief in the underlying misunderstanding that me has my own nature, other has their own nature, and the interaction between has its own nature. And so the discomfort or pleasure that I experience from the thing is real, coming from the thing. And so what I do to get it or avoid it is necessary. The only way to stop the misunderstanding is to experience ultimate reality, truth, which is an absence. It's like we experience an absence, and all of a sudden, we're so different that we can no longer perpetuate the mistake. Can we still experience the mistake? Absolutely. Do we still react habitually? Yes. Will we catch ourselves, right? Faster and faster? Yes. Even as we react not so wisely, we don't believe, right, in it enough to be replanting the mistake. And slowly, slowly, we chip away at our ignorant seeds and we train our behavior, right? Until we are at that point where emptiness is seen. Everything is seen with emptiness. We can intellectually see everything with emptiness if we're diligent, right, with our mindset. And it brings to mind that four spaces meditation, where one piece of it is to recognize how empty space is the place that physical objects are in. And it's analogous to the emptiness of an object or an emptiness of me, in the sense that anytime we perceive a physical object, we are also perceiving the space that it is in, not directly, but we know it has to be there. And so I like to think of that. It's like every perception of an outer object I've ever had, I've also been aware of the space that it's in. And I like to add that to my rejoicing list and dedicate it to, may I be as aware of their empty natures as I am aware of the space that they're in. Because technically we're already doing that. Let's become a little bit more aware of doing that, and maybe those seeds can grow into an awareness of the thing's emptiness, right? My own emptiness. In terms of subtle awarenesses of an absence as we're experiencing a presence of something. Let's take a break and we'll go on to chapter 14, shall we?
I'm just thinking that it would be nice to, study a little bit more deeper space, sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I take it for granted, both, to be honest.
Yeah. I would like the teachings on the connection between sound and light.
Also, yes,
How
sound
does
and light.
sound become form? How does sound relate to form? I've had a little bit of instruction in that, but it still isn't. I still don't get it quite.
I'm reading a chapter a little bit on that, but it doesn't go deep.
Yeah.
but it just mentions it. I think would be interesting to analyze it a little bit more.
There are these experiments called cymatics, cymatics, where you play sound waves under a medium, like a thing of sand or a thin layer of water, and the sound waves vibrate and makes the substance vibrate, and then it vibrates into a shape. So, a French horn underneath the sand, French horns A, middle A, makes a certain flower looking thing. And then you switch it to high C and the thing goes and then forms into something else. And then like it's such a beautiful visual example of how vibration creates shape.
But even in our own mind, Julema, if you play it by the hertz, the beta waves, the gamma
Right.
waves, the alpha waves, so it can set you into a different state of
Right.
modes. And
Same idea.
yeah, it's the same idea. And I've seen what you're saying, and it's exquisite what they do.
Yeah.
Really exquisite.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
saw one where the music, or it wasn't music, it was the sound changing, and it made the little thing of sand look like a worm that was moving. It was actually moving. And that blew me away. It's like, oh my gosh, this is all vibration and nothing but. And it's like different words for the same conclusion. Thy vibration is karma ripening. The emptiness is the medium.
Right. So interesting. I'll go make coffee. I'll be back.
Okay.
Dilemma, may I share some good news?
Okay.
The Medicine Buddha Sutra is already on sale, the Spanish version.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Well
The
done.
EPUB has been put on into Dr. Wu's website. It's
Yay.
already on sale.
Oh, wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Dilemma.
Yay.
Yeah, that's a big rejoiceable. It was an amazing
Yeah,
work.
good. Good.
Yeah.
So chapter 12 had said, I do so exist, Arya Nagarjuna, because I have suffering, right? I have pain. And Nagarjuna said, okay, let's check out that pain. Who causes that pain? Do you cause it yourself? Does somebody else cause it? Does something else cause it? And right, he shows us that no, right? The cause of pain can't be what we think. But the way he words it, it makes our Kachik think he's saying, no, there's not really pain. And we go, or that, no, there's not really a you experiencing pain. And then we go, but I do so exist because I do things and I can stop my pain. Right? That's how we get to the produced things again. And in response to that, Nagarjuna fortunately does not say, we've already talked about how what you do doesn't cause what happens in the next moment. He says, the conqueror says, anything which misleads us is called deceptive, and all things which produce other things are things which mislead us, and so they are deceptive. And how do we deceive the deception? We need to understand emptiness. Okay? In order to deceive the deception, Buddha taught us emptiness. And then in the end, he points out that Buddha taught emptiness is the view that transcends everything. That once we're understanding emptiness, we have nothing more to reach. Technically, once we are perceiving ultimate reality always, we don't have anything more to reach. That's what it is to be fully awakened. Buddha, perceiving perceiving ultimate reality always. But not just emptiness, perceiving emptiness. There has to be something that is empty and we're perceiving that as well. So we're perceiving appearing reality and ultimate reality simultaneously always. We have nothing more to reach true. Once we stop believing in the inherent, innate, essential self identities and functions of things, we still have more to reach, but we're on that conveyor belt to perceiving emptiness directly always. And experiencing it directly for the first time puts us on that conveyor belt, we understand. But like, what's, if we started this chapter with, I do so exist because I do something to stop my suffering and it works. Well, sometimes it works. Do you see why his answer went to this subtle way? It's like it only sometimes works to yell back at the boss, to make the pain stop. In which case it doesn't really work. It just seems to work. Deceptively, it works. And because it works one time, we're going to try it again the next time. And we think, yeah, like it worked well. Yelling back worked really well, so I'll do it next time. And maybe next time it works well again. And we go, yeah, this is the way to do it. And so it's sort of the fact that it worked is a ripening of some way in which we helped somebody resolve something in the past. But we are misled to think, no, it's right to yell back. So in a sense, when we act unkindly and get a good result, it's a bad thing for us. It's a harmful thing for us because it leads us believing that that's what worked. So we'll do it again. But then when we yell at the boss to stop the problem and it doesn't work, we think that's a bad thing. Oh, I did the wrong thing to get this to end because it didn't work. When in fact, it's a good thing because now we realize, well, maybe yelling back isn't the way to end this pain. So, right, we end up swimming upstream when we get into this path of understanding the deception. And it gets a little frustrating for a while. But so what does our Kachik say? Let's see if we can anticipate chapter 14. If we were saying, no, the reason I really do have a nature of my own, Nagarjuna, is because when I'm in a painful situation and I act a certain way, I can stop my pain. So I do so exist. And Nagarjuna says, no, you just think what you do stops your pain. Because sometimes it doesn't work. The only way to really stop your pain is to understand your emptiness. What is your self-existent me? What's its reaction? Like intellectually, we get it, right? Think of some automatic, some unpleasant situation where we are still, right? The displeasure comes up and we automatically react, right? To me, it's some kind of snippy, sarcastic, not directly ugly words mean, but mean thing to say, hurtful thing to say. It comes out of my mouth so fast. And it would only do that out of habit. And because that habit includes the belief that this is going to shut off my pain, right? My whatever I'm feeling that made that snippy remark come out of me. I'm so sure that that's the right response. I'm so sure that they won't act like that to me again because my snippy remark is so clever, smart, and hurtful to them that they'll back off. So the me that believes that's the right thing to do, when it reads this chapter, like investigate the emptiness of yourself. Am I going to go, is my old me, right? Going to go, oh yeah, you're right. No, right? What's its tenacious hold? What do you think? Like what comes up in my mind is, no, Nagarjuna, I need to defend myself. I need to act like that from that pain, that's feeling needs to have this reaction. That feeling of hurt triggers my response. So, no, Nagarjuna, my reaction that's triggered by the situation. That's how I solve my problem. The pain triggers my reaction. Let's see. Anybody else? Any other ideas? Where would your Kachik go after being told emptiness is the view that transcends everything?
I mean,
Janet, what do you think?
you're trying to get us to meditate. So you'd say, particularly with anger, that's great. That's your object right there. Is it important? Is it really important relative to everything? Is it a taught habit?
Nice.
Is it something? Can you be a bump in the log like Master Shantideva suggests?
Right.
Go ahead and meditate for 15 minutes.
Good one. Yes, Tracy, what do you think?
Well, on the weekend, I heard that your mind is just layers of habits. And I was like, what? And was thinking about, when we meditate, it's for me, sometimes it's like sticking your head in a garbage can and checking in with your habits of your mind. And then at the same time, when you start looking at Nagarjuna and the emptiness and all this stuff that nothing touches, and then it loops me back to the wheel and the whole links. And then when I start realizing, are my thoughts having an I? Well, then once I have the I and then I get into the experience of whatever is, then I start going, okay, that's the part I need to deny. And then I feel like I'm just sometimes spinning because I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So now I'm trying to deconstruct that there isn't even a self. And the moment I say I am having an experience of something, well, that's the part I need to deny. And I don't know how to find peeling back those layers of habits and finding the deconstruct of it without grasping the attachment of the part I need to deny. Does any of that make sense?
Right. Nagarjuna's point, I think. Okay, so keep in mind, chapter 13, emptiness is the answer to everything. In relation to I do so exist because when I react to my pain, I can stop it. Ew, anything that you experience is deceptive, is his answer. Okay, so we're going to chapter 14.
I kind of see the Kachik as a fictional Kachik, and it's doing what Tracy describes. The fictional
Exactly.
Kachik is saying, but, and then he reels them in again. He reels the fictional Kachik in.
Oops, you're right. Where did my chapter 14 go? Oh. How come when I open one thing that I have in Adobe, the other thing I have in Adobe disappears?
The emptiness of chapter 14.
Oh, amen. Okay, wait, I gotta shrink you. Hold on. There it is. All right. Found it. It was hiding. There we go. There we go. Chapter 14, an analysis of touching. What? How do we get there? Joanna, would you read for us, please?
Yeah, sure. 14.1. Take, for instance, the triad of the seen, the seeing, and the seer. Neither all three, nor any pair of them, could ever touch each other.
Why is that his answer? I do so exist because I act. In the face of pain, I act to get the pain to stop, and it works. Really? Does it always work? Well, no, but something else changes. Yeah, maybe sometimes I have to try something different, but right, that pain comes up, it makes me act in this certain way. Nagarjuna's answer is, well, let's look at the seen, the seeing, and the seer. It's the three spheres, right? How do they interact? How is it that our interaction with an other can stop or cause pain? All right, keep it in mind. Roxana, 14.2, please.
Thank you. 14.2. It is the same, for instance, of this desire.
Right, desire.
Okay, desire, desiring, and desired. The same for the rest of the afflictions, and the rest of the gateways too, for they all have the same three parts. Isn't it similar to what we studied at the beginning?
Yeah. So he's making some deeper point than what we got when we've studied this before. Let's see. Tracy, can you see it well enough to read?
Thank you. 14.3. Say one thing could touch another, since it couldn't exist as an other. In the case of the seen and the rest, we can't say they make contact.
Let's go on and read the whole chapter before we pick it all apart, okay? He's starting to investigate this relationship between the three. Janet, please.
And this not only holds true in the case of the seen and the rest by themselves, but in any case where two of them are taken both together, it would be mistaken to say that they were separate things.
Yeah, so consider any one of the three interacting with any one of the other three, or consider any two interacting with the third, right? We've got all these different combinations. Joanna.
14.5. To be one thing depends on the other. How could there be an other without something else? But if it was something because of that other, you could hardly claim it was other than that.
That
Sounds
is
like
so
Dr.
tricky.
Seuss.
Gus.
Right, Arya Nagarjuna came back to us as Dr. Seuss. Tracy, please.
14.6. If other was something other than the other, it would be other without any other. Since we can't have another without the other, it simply cannot exist.
Where am I going? Roxana, please.
Thank you, Lama. But Janet hasn't read, dear Lama.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're going up. We'll go up.
Okay.
Janet, next.
You don't get an other by having another, and you don't get it without another either. If you cannot have another, neither it nor another could ever be.
And just see Lama Christie doing this translation and laughing out loud. Janet.
This and that can't ever come together. One thing could never touch another. And just as touching could never be, neither toucher nor touched could ever exist.
Something else is going on here. When I interact with that in this way to get that result, I hope. Right? That's life, right? Here's me. I'm going to interact with a cup of tea and a tea bag and a thing of hot water to make tea. And it works. Like every time. As long as I have the tea bag, as long as I have the hot water, as long as I have the cup, as long as I have me, as long as I have me wanting tea, right? As long as, right, we keep going and all the other factors that need to be going on here. But when we really pin it down, we're saying, see, that proves that there is a me and there is an other, and there is a way in which my me interacts with the other to make a third thing happen. Nagarjuna is saying, let's look at that. Really look at it microscopically to see where that interaction actually happens. And we pretty easily show ourselves that right, we can't really find the place where they meet. We can't really find the place where that interaction happens. We can't find the moment in time. We can't find the space in place. How does that help us understand about that one who's insulted me, who's caused this icky feeling in me, that I believe if I say that thing back to them, that will relieve my pain? How does this chapter show me that I'm mistaken in that belief that they caused that to me, and my immediate action will solve this sensation in me?
By thinking they're independent of you?
Right? They're the other.
Right.
So let's go through it again. We still have some time. So I'm following Lama Christie's example that this chapter 14 is helping us recognize how we are clinging to our justification for reacting from that pain that I'm feeling, reacting in a certain way, believing that my reaction is how I stop my pain. Right? We've looked at subject side, object side. This is the interaction between, but it's further. It's my reaction to the interaction. That we are refusing to accept the conclusion that me has no nature. Because we're saying, look, when I react to this pain, I affect a change. So you can't say I don't exist. Nagarjuna. He's not saying we don't exist, right? Poor guy, he's doing like this against the wall. Will you please just get it? Right? I'm not saying you don't exist. I'm telling you how you do exist. So he goes, okay, let's look at it again. We have the object, we have the experience, and we have the doer of the experience. Can those three ever make contact? What are you saying, that I don't see the guy, experience the guy criticizing me? Well, you just said we can't make contact. I have to make contact with the guy in order to hear his words and be upset by them. I have to make contact. Desirer, desiring, desired. Like that, technically, that's where we're at. I'm desiring. I'm the desirer. The desire is, you should stop saying those mean things to me. The desiring, I want that to stop. The desired is the end of the pain. The desirer is me, right? The desiring is what I'm going to do. And the desired is the outcome I want. What did we say about it? They can't touch. They have to touch. Same for all the rest.
Yeah, but I think he's also saying that they cannot exist independently.
Exactly.
And there needs to be an interdependent relationship. The seer, the seeing, and the seen, in order to arise something out of it, right? I mean,
Right. I agree. I'm not going to feel hurt by that guy unless that guy is there saying something to hurt me. My hurt depends on him. See? My hurt depends on him.
it depends on your karma ripening. I mean, something had to trigger that the other subject object interaction. So we engage and we grasp, and that's the part that we deceive ourselves in thinking that it's the guy doing that to me, right?
Yeah, well, so you're saying that guy's words can't touch me. Well, then it can't be my karma either, because right, if they can't touch me, then it doesn't matter.
Well, this is how I see it. Either it can be a pleasant experience or an unpleasant experience, right?
True, true.
So the way that I experience it is that interdependence of that subject object interaction. So if I didn't have a past experience ripening, how could I have that experience later on if it hasn't ripened?
Yeah, so you're saying I could have a karmic seed ripen being hurt by that guy, and that guy's not even there. I don't even need him there. And I can feel that
Right.
hurt because my karmic seed ripened. And then I blame the guy for hurting me, even
Right.
though I never interacted with him. What?
Right. That's your karma. I mean, that's your ripening. You're grasping to something that's not there, but you're grasping to some idea.
Then I'm the only thing that exists. Me and my karma is the only thing. If
I don't
nothing
know.
touches anything else, it's just all karma. What, then what difference does anything make?
Well,
Come
the
on,
point that
prove
I'm
me
making
wrong, you
is
guys. Don't let me wallow in my ignorance. Yes,
the point that
Janet.
I'm making is that you need a seer, right? You need the object, you need the subject, and you need the interaction. So you need the
They
seer
can't touch.
in
Why do
relation.
I need them?
They don't point. You cannot point exactly where they touch, Lama. You can't point exactly where your feet is touching the ground. Exactly. Those things we've gone through. We cannot pinpoint exactly at that precise moment where the hurt touches, or where the feeling of happiness touches, or where that desire starts.
I know.
You
So
know,
how can anybody interact with anything?
that's the beauty of it.
What? That's nuts.
Karma ripens in so fast. The seeds go blim, 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 blim. That mudra that you make so beautifully,
Yeah.
that all I know is that I'm seeing, but I cannot stop the frames to see exactly that precise moment that I'm seeing you pull your arms up.
Yeah. Tracy, what do you have to say?
What comes to mind for me is I have two stories where I see a mom in a grocery store with a kid. She's smiling and happy. By the time I run into her at the cash, she's ready to lose her and the kid, and it's like practically throwing him in the cart, and it's like, no, no, you can't have that, no. And she's like ready to lose it, and I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, okay, when I saw her first come in the store, she was happy and she seemed, so if nothing touched her and she's holding her child's hand and I see that they're touching, I'm like, and then I'm thinking, and then I hear the mom say, I'm ready to lose it, will you stop or whatever. And then I'm thinking, okay, how the child's acting, there's physical touch, there's now blaming of the you're the reason why I'm in this. And then I go, oh, and then I think about myself, and I always have this thing where I think I'm really good at diffusing conflict, but I also have been in situations where at some point
there's no whatever. And then the same thing where I'm like, I can't believe they're breaking me. I thought I was really good at diffusing conflict. So when I think about the touch thing and the no touch and the no contact, it messes me up and it makes me realize, when you're in the computer and you see that little wheel spin, and sometimes you're like, no, I need to get into whatever. I almost feel like Nagarjuna is in this moment cracking my mind to say, you always need to see that wheel spinning, because every time there's a desirer, a desiring, and a desired, that's the part where you need to see spinning. And if you could just access that, that's why you're going to go there, just don't. And the spinning wheel is like, pause and go back to this teaching and fake it till you make it in my deceptive reality.
Right. So as Roxana was pointing out as well, I'm blaming the other for the distress or happiness. And I'm so sure that they're the cause of it. And I'm so sure that there's something I can do in the moment that will affect them, that will make me feel better. And Nagarjuna is pointing out this other thing to show us how absolutely absurd that whole expectation is. To say that my distress was caused by them, right? It's so automatic in our ignorant me. But then it's like, no, the me here, there's the me and they're the other them, the other what they're doing, the other what I'm feeling, right? That's an other than me. And the what I think I should do to fix it, all of those is others. And we think there's a me independent of all those others. And then we need to react towards them or from them. But he's pointing out that no, you can't have another without another. And you can't, I can't have a me without another, is what he means. But we're playing it from both sides. I'm the other to the guy, and the guy's the other to me. And never the two shall touch. And so we can touch, we can interact. Why? Because that's what I'm experiencing in the moment. Why am I experiencing it? Karmic seeds pushing that reaction, pushing that projection, forcing me to experience it the way I'm experiencing it as self-other interaction. Right? So there is interaction. Karmic ripening projection interaction happening, but not the interaction the way we think, because they're so dependent upon each other that you can't say that this one affects that one and that one affects this one. And you can't say these two together affect that one. Are they not happening? No, they are happening. But they aren't happening in the way that we're blaming them for happening. He caused that pain. This thing that I say will relieve my pain. Right? Technically, that's the other we're talking about, says the commentary. The me that thinks my saying something nasty is the solution to the hurt I'm feeling. Is there a me independent of the hurt I'm feeling? We think yes. Is there actually? No. Right? The me experiencing the hurt right now is the me. That me experiencing hurt right now, subject side, has an object, the thing that it's thinking to do in response to the unpleasantness of the me feeling hurt right now ripening. I think I can do something to fix it in the moment. What I do in the moment, does it work? Where does the what I do touch the hurt? The hurt's an emotion in this case. How does something I say affect something I feel? They're two different. How can those two touch? But it seems to work. So does the combination of saying something nasty and that icky feeling, do they work together in such a way that they touch something else that they then get diffused? It's like, no, that can't work because they can't ever touch the other thing, right? I could say that nasty thing to the guy and they could be deaf, right? And not actually hear my words. So then it didn't work. All these weird scenarios that we could come up with to disprove ourselves. And my own mind listens to all those disproofs and goes, yeah, 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 yeah. But then the next time it comes up, and then fortunately, hot on the heels, it's like, oh, regret, right? So hopefully burned it off a little bit. In any case where two are brought together, it would be mistaken to say they're separate things. So these three, seer, seen, seeing, desire, desirer, desiring, you can't find any one independent of the others. You can't find any two independent of the third. But you also can't say that they're all one thing. They are separate things. But when we say they're separate things, they can't be. They all are mutually dependent. Too big a word, says Geshe Michael. To be one thing depends upon the other. And he goes into that series of verses. To be other without another is not another. So it takes an other to be another. But then you'd say there is another. I love these. How can I blame the other guy for this other experience? How can I even blame what I think I'm going to do on solving this, right? If they're also interdependent. I don't know. Why does interdependent say I shouldn't be snippy in response to my feeling hurt? I wish I could read the Sanskrit. Can you read the Tibetan, Tracy, from the script?
Yeah, but I'm not very fast.
What's the word for other?
Oh,
I see it happening here. Rink. Vink, these two together.
which two? The bottom two?
Well, it looks like this.
Casa
See the things that I'm seeing repeat.
Sensei? Sensei? The bottom two
Yeah, I'm not sure. These
at the
two.
top? Kasatasana, that's Jenny, Jenny, Kenny, Kenny, Kenny Ken, Kenny Ken La Yu, Ma Yin,
My yin you can't have. Okay.
Ma Yin, yeah. Kema Yin La
Shen other.
Nga Yu
Okay.
Ma Yin.
Yeah, the my yin can't have.
Can't
Okay.
have. I wanted to ask about the other part that I just saw. You don't get an other. I just wanted to ask because I'm confused right now. I'm in the right place. I'm confused because you can't have an object, like in order to be a subject, you have to have an object. So if
Correct.
there is no other, well, didn't we just say there needs to be an other? Like, and that's where I'm confused, where it says you don't get an other by having another. And I'm like,
Right.
well, how can I be a subject if I got no other?
Right. That's the point. That this is saying the same thing. Right. Because we're the other for the other guy. Right. That subject, I'm the other. I'm the subject, they're the other. I'm both subject and other at the same time. Right. In Mahamudra, that's how we find the true nature of our me. Right. Is we're me, 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 me. And then we put the me here as the subject side. It's like, oh my gosh, how can I be subject side and object side at the same time? I can't exist the way I think. We go into it, hopefully. Okay. Nagarjuna. We'll finish up 14 and go to 15. Do I have 15? I'm not sure I have 15. If I have 15, we'll go there. And then we're at the end of what I have until we jump forward to 23, 24, whatever it is. So I'm stuck with Nagarjuna class. We'll figure out together what we want to do. Okay, thank you for the extra 4 minutes. Let's dedicate. Remember that being we want to be able to help. We have learned a lot, gotten glimpses that we will use to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's a great, great goodness. So please be happy with yourself. The effort is significant. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone we can hold in our hands. Recall our own precious holy guide. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude for them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, inspire you, help you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it. By the power of the goodness that we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom may. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one being, to share it with everyone we love, to share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with happiness, filled with loving kindness, filled with wisdom. And may it be so. All right. Thank you so much for helping me. I will see you next week.